So I've been trying to get a hold of Iniesta's brand Capitten for a really long time, and I've got some interesting stories for you guys in this video, but let's get these unboxed and show you guys actually the mid-tier version of his Capitten 1 mid. So they got the massive Capitten logo here on the box, as well as the name of the boot, which is the Capitten 1 number 8, or like the midfielder basically. He was, of course, number 8, and we've got nothing on the sides. And then here is your sizing guide. So they are a US 9, a Euro 42, and a 27 centimeters. So a little bit different with the sizing. And then these are, of course, in the white and black colorway. There is also a white and blue. And this is the Capitten 1 mid, which, as I mentioned, is the first takedown model from this lineup. So here we go, getting these unboxed. I'm actually quite excited to see these, although I am pretty skeptical. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, sweet. Awesome. Okay, so really quick, this is also thanks to OCE Boots, who is a dealer. You guys should go follow them as well. They sent these out to me, and I have been looking for these for a really long time in order to test them. Even though these are the takedown model, I'm happy doing either because I just want to see what his brand is like. And I have some skeptical, I don't know, I'm a little skeptical, but thanks to OCE Boots, go follow them. Link will be down in the description box below. And then, of course, you guys can see the QR code there as well. We'll get this out of the way so that you guys can see the full boots, and then we'll open these up. There you go. OCE Boots again, very nice. All right, so getting these out of the way, and then I'm going to throw this one down here. Perfect. All right, so here is the Capitten 1 number 8, which you can see the logoing right there. It's a very interesting and classic design. These are pretty heavy, if I'm honest. This is the takedown model, so I believe the top-end model, which is absolutely impossible to get anywhere in the world at this point because they're all sold out, is a full K-leather upper. I believe this was designed with inspiration from 80s football boots with a very classic white design and then the 2 stripes on the lateral and medial side. I think they're okay looking. I don't think they're the best, but they definitely do the job as far as a classic looking football boot. And to be fair, I am quite a fan of white-based football boots with an accent color, particularly when they make the accent color really bold and contrasty, like a black. The fact that they did contrasting laces with the detailing, and some of the detailing here in the back looks really nice in general. But overall, as a design, it's pretty simple. It's pretty boring, if I'm honest. But overall, yeah, very interesting. So as far as this mid-tier model goes, this is the 1 mid, which is the mid-tier boot. The 1 pro is the top-end boot. This one retails for, I believe, about $150 US, and then the pro model really goes for about 220 something, 230 US. This entire upper is made of natural cow leather, or I would guess calfskin leather, or a treated calfskin leather with a little bit of a synthetic coating on the top. It's relatively soft for a leather upper. That's nice, and it feels very padded, similar to the Copa Icon. And so my guess is that it's going to fit, at least from a touch perspective and a fit perspective in the forefoot, pretty similar to that. And then you do have a conical stud pattern. It's very simple, very, very simple, but decently flexible in the forefoot with quite a bit of rigidity there through the midfoot as well. This is a simple sole plate, which actually makes a lot of sense to me because if you guys remember when Iniesta wore the CTRs, he had CTRs most often with the carbon plate from the Tiempo 3 and 4. That, particularly the Tiempo 4. Busquets uses the same sole plate, and it's all really, really perfectly placed conical studs, even on professional grass. I don't think I ever saw Iniesta wear soft grounds, and I definitely didn't ever see him wear AG, so it makes complete sense that they went with a conical stud pattern, even though they call it an FG model. This would definitely be suitable on AG, by the way, because of how shallow the studs are and how would you say this? How small the circumference is, or the diameter of these studs is as well. You can also get this boot in an IC, or an indoor court, and a turf model, TF, and as well as the pro model. So there's 4, if not 5 models across the Capitten range, and they are completely unavailable for some reason. So One of the stories that I did want to tell you guys is that I actually reached out to Capitten and they never responded to my messages, which is totally fine. Then I ordered a pair because it said my size was in stock. Then they came back and said that they didn't want, or excuse me, that they, for whatever reason, the stock on their website wasn't correct, so they couldn't send me the top end pro boots. And then they asked if I wanted a different size in the pro boots, and I was like, no, what are you talking about? I'm ordering my own size. Then they offered me this one, and I said, nah, I don't really want the mid-tier one. But then OCE Boots came in and was like, hey, can I send you a pair? And I was like, yeah, you can. I'll review. Sweet. So again, thank you to OCE Boots. Very, very cool and very generous. I appreciate you very much. So not much is known about Capitten. And this is an interesting question. So I want to go over a couple of things. First of all, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of these. They are incredibly simple. Suede heel liner, cow leather, laces, cotton laces, and then a conical stud. Like, they are so simple and kind of bland from a tech features perspective, which isn't a bad thing, but it's boring. It's boring. The reason for that is because when somebody like Iniesta, who of course is one of the greatest midfielders, if not debatably the greatest midfielder of all time, you have to think to yourself, is this led by Iniesta? Is Capitten Iniesta came up with the idea? Is reading, what am I saying? Leading the meetings, he's doing product development, or he's overseeing product development. He's like, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want it to look like. Or is it somebody, which also happens all the time in the business world, you have an idea for a product, you have a person of influence or an influencer. So person of influence being someone like Iniesta, who didn't go social media first and was famous for something else before being on social media, whereas it's the other way around usually for an influencer. I would say that business opportunities where somebody has a business idea, they go, okay, who's the perfect person for this? Iniesta is the perfect person for this. So I'm going to approach Iniesta and I'm going to say, I'm going to give you 50% of this company, and I want you to be Capitten. Capitten is Iniesta. Iniesta is Capitten. Now, I'll do some shots of the boots as well as I'm talking. The interesting piece of that is we don't have a clue what that looks like for Capitten. This product in a slim down K-leather high end might actually be pretty good from a build feature perspective. And yes, I realize this is the mid-tier model. From a build product perspective, this is quite robust. It feels very solid, very, very solid, and especially the sole plate, which is incredibly stiff here through the midfoot. I'm just, from a business perspective, I'm so curious when famous people, not just influencers, it's the same with Ryan Reynolds and with his, I think Aviation Gin was his alcohol company, and other influencers, other famous people have done that. And now they're influencing towards the brand that they've partnered with, McGregor and the Proper 12 whiskey, right? Similarity of The Rock with Terramana. I realize I'm just shouting alcohol things, and I can't drink all three of these because of my allergies, but you understand the point, right? Football boot company says, ooh, it'd be like if Sokito went to the Nigeria captain and was like, hey, we want you to be the company. You're our guy. You're the face of this. You're everything. We wanna meld you and Sokito. Like, you and Sokito are gonna be the same thing. Capitten is Iniesta. Iniesta is Capitten. So is it run by him, or is it run by a business or an entrepreneur who's come in and said, hey, I'll give you a bunch of the business in order for you to be Capitten? Very interesting from a business perspective. But needless to say, I'm quite excited to try these on. They look actually quite a bit bigger. I think we have to go half a size down. We, meaning consumers, have to go half a size down with these, but the size 9 from OCE Boots was the only one available, and that's totally fine. So it is in my 9 US. My guess is these are going to be huge on my feet though. So they'll probably be pretty comfortable, but they're probably going to be too big. However, let's get into the on-feet portion of the video, and we'll talk about sizing, we'll talk about comfort, and we'll wrap up the conversation around, from a business perspective, is this a smart thing to do? And with so limited stock and with him being such a famous person, having dominated in Spain and then, of course, really done well in Japan as well, he's got two really major markets, both in Asia and then in Europe. Is that a good decision from a business perspective? And should you even attempt to buy a pair of Capitten 1 boots? Let's jump into it. All right, fam, out in the backyard with the Capitten 1 in the mid-tier model. I'm a little nervous about this, but let's get these on feet. All right, here we go. They look very, very classic. It's a very high football boot, so I'm hoping that this area right there doesn't absolutely destroy my ankle. But let's get these on feet and see what the Capitten 1 is all about. Sliding my foot in. Ooh, yeah, not bad. Not bad. The sizing's actually okay. I think with the K-leather model, I might go down half a size, but because these are cow leather, they're not going to stretch probably as much, and the sizing actually fits pretty well. So I think if you're going to buy a pair of these, I would probably just go true to size, especially if you're in the wide fit category, because I do think that these are going to be, well, at least right now, they're totally suitable for my foot. Very, very wide, very easy to get into. Now, I'm not using the extra lace loop up here. I'm just going to use these for the sake of this review, but here we go on feet. And they do feel actually pretty remarkably similar to, I mean, yes, these are a mid-tier model, so they feel cheaper for sure, but they feel very similar to the Copa Icon without the midfoot structure. So these ones feel, if you have like really, really, really wide feet, I might actually recommend you go for a boot like this because it's got a ton of width here without any kind of feeling of reinforcement. Like I don't feel like these are going to take any time to break in at all. But there you go. There's what the Capitten 1 mid looks like. They feel pretty comfortable, to be honest. I have no complaints really with the way that they feel on feet. They're definitely like, they definitely feel heavier. They definitely feel a little bit more chunky than a normal leather football boot. But I think these are meant to fall in a similar category to the Copa Icon. The fact that the entirety of the upper is a suede material, I think helps. I do think that if my heel area wasn't surrounded by suede, even in these grip socks, I would probably be slipping out of this heel area because there is so much volume inside the boot. That being said, I feel pretty comfortable in these. I gotta admit, I do feel pretty comfortable. I feel a little disconnected, I think, from the outside world, if that makes sense. They feel like a house, not a tool. So feet feel comfy, feet feel nice. I can wiggle my toes, no problem. Heel area wraps my heel pretty well, but it is quite robust. They are pretty thick and they are very padded. So there's a full look at the Capitten 1 mid. This is the problem with a boot like this is I don't have a lot of complaints because they're pretty comfortable and they're very wide, so they actually suit my feet really well. But the sole plate's pretty eh. The upper's really padded. It feels like I've got a pillow around my feet. And in terms of touch, yeah, it's very Copa Icon-esque in terms of it feeling pretty disconnected from the outside world. I don't feel like this is going to be a boot that I'm going to overly enjoy playing in, despite it being very, very comfortable straight out of the box. And I think if somebody were to force my hand and say you absolutely have to play in a pair of these, I would probably go down a half a size and break them in so that they stretched a little bit. Whereas these ones fit my foot perfectly out of the box, and my toes have a little bit of extra space on the end, which isn't that big of a deal, but I think a boot like this is gonna need you to be super tight straight away so that when it breaks in, it's kind of that perfect shape without overstretching. Other thoughts about this one. I know we had a long conversation earlier in the video about where famous people's brands fit in to the market, particularly in the football boot market. We haven't really seen a whole lot of that because J-Mike's done some special colorways for Puma and stuff, but he hasn't ever made his own brand of football boots. I haven't ever made my own brand. Boot Wizard hasn't ever made his own brand. And Josh SR4U hasn't really made his own brand. And so it's hard to say. I think that if an actual boot head were to come into the market and make their own football boots, I think they would be a lot better than this. And I think that's where it's hard when you have a face like Iniesta, so you sell out of the top end model and it's probably still not all that amazing, but a boot like this is gonna probably fit pretty much everybody. If you have really narrow feet, I would highly recommend you stay away from these. And that's the same recommendation I have about the Copa Icon as well, particularly because they're just so roomy. A boot like this is going to compete at this price point with the Nike Premier 3, the New Balance 442, and the Copa Gloro 2. And I would say Gloro 2 is easily, maybe not easily, but is the best out of this kind of budget-friendly leather football boot. I would say in terms of, then it's the 442, then I would actually put these, and then the Premiers. I really don't like the Premiers. I don't think they're very good. I don't think the shape's very good. There's a lot of aspects about that boot that I just am not a huge fan of. But these ones actually fit a lot better, in my opinion, than the Premiers. The shape is a lot more neutral, and the leather seems not all that nice, but it is still natural leather, whereas the Premier is going towards synthetic now. So that's kind of my roundup of this boot. As you can probably tell, I'm not super enthused by it, and I'm always skeptical when you have a famous person or an influencer making a product, unless the influencer or the famous person has made their product based on the years and years and years and years and years of experience doing the thing. It's like if I made a football boot, if Boot Wizard made a football boot, if Lockhart Boot Blog made a football boot, if Josh or J-Mike, like if any of us, and I'm forgetting some people as well, but if any of us proper boot nerd reviewer types actually made a football boot, it would be way better than this. Like way better. It wouldn't even be close. It'd be so much better than this. So yeah, I don't think it holds a candle to anything else on the market outside of the Premier 3, which sucks anyway. So that's my 2 cents worth on the Capitten 1 mid. Again, thank you to OCE Boots for sending these out. I really, really appreciate you. And I'm glad, even despite me not really liking these, even though they're perfectly comfortable and I would be happy to coach in them and do stuff, I'm glad I got a chance to review them. So thank you to OCE Boots again. Go check them out on Instagram and go check out their stock because there's some pretty cool stuff over there. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.